In this presentation, we're going to look at Oyo Empire. Oyo Empire happened to be one of the well-organized political units established by the Yoruba speaking people. The foundation of Oyo Empire was traceable to the a prince of Yoruba land, which was one of the sons of Oduduwa called Oramiyan. And the establishment of Oyo Empire was very interesting in the sense that a lot of factors played very important role in the establishment of Oyo Empire. One of them was the geographic location. The empire was established in the northern part of Yoruba land, which was characterized by migration. Migration played a very important role in the establishment of Oyo Empire. And the northern part of Yoruba land was towards the lower tip of the River Niger, and the area had fertile ground. This encouraged the establishment of Oyo Empire in the sense that some persons from Yoruba land migrated towards the northern part of Yoruba land. Then with this migration, there was the need to establish political units and control over them, which led to the establishment of Oyo Empire. The next important factor was trade. Trade played a very important role in the establishment of Oyo Empire. The northern part of Yoruba land was very influential in the trans-Saharan trade. That happened to be the terminal point or the movement point between the southern part of Yoruba land and what is known today as the ending tip of the trans-Saharan trade route. So this encouraged trade relationship between the southern part of Yoruba land and the northern part of what is known today as northern Nigeria. This encouraged the establishment of Oyo Empire. Oyo Empire played a very important role in trade, both in the trans-Saharan trade and in the transatlantic trade. Another important factor was the influence or importance of migration. Migration, as I said earlier, played a very important role because of trade reasons and because of agricultural reasons. So let us look at some factors that encouraged the growth of Oyo Empire. You cannot talk about Oyo Empire without talking about migration. So due to the migration, there was the need to establish government over that region. So the Alaafin controlled a very strong army under the command of the Are Onakakanfo, and the army or the bodyguard or the well-trained soldiers were called the ESO. The army has strict code of conduct, which required the soldiers to fight to the last man. Successful soldiers from battle were greeted with great honors and admiration. The next pointer, or the next important factor, was the introduction of horses into Oyo army. This helps the army to develop a cavalry force. In fact, as a matter of fact, horses were first introduced in the empire during the reign of Alaafin Orompoto. During the reign of Alaafin Orompoto, horses were first imported into Benin Empire, and Benin Empire got their horses from the neighboring Nupe kingdom. And with the help of these horses, the empire was able to establish a cavalry force, which played a very strong role in strengthening the army. The military established a cavalry force, and then the leadership and valor of Oyo warriors were also strengthened, and the Are Onakakanfo was made to be a strong influence to the success of the Oyo Empire's army. The next factor was the strong defenses that were established in different frontiers of the town to protect the empire. Such defenses could be found in Kishi and Iboho. The empire enjoyed relative safety from foreign invasion. The next factor was that Oyo Empire had a strong central government. At the head of the central government was the Alaafin that lived in the capital, Oyo Ile. And he was the symbol of unity. And he had a monarchical structural pattern. Well, there were some constitutional monarchical checks and balances. But the Alaafin was at the center of the political control of Oyo Empire. Well, the Council of States, which was made up of 7 male members, were referred to as the Oyo Mercy, and they at the time were made to be kingmakers. And this Council of States played a very important role in the restructuring of the political unit of Oyo Empire. The aura of greatness of the empire helped it to maintain loyalty of vassal states. Due to the strong army the empire had, the empire went into wars of expansion, and a lot of communities, kingdoms were made, even empires were meant to be vassal states to Oyo Empire. One of them was Dahomey. Dahomey's first series of wars with Oyo Empire until the empire took over the Dahomey territory. Next one there was that Oyo was blessed with leadership of strong rulers who strengthened and expanded the empire. Some of these rulers were Oramiyan, who was believed to be the founder of Oyo Empire, and also believed to be one of the sons of Oduduwa. So, some other kings existed. Orompoto was a strong king who was a skillful king and oversaw the integration of horses into the military arm of Oyo Empire. Oyo had dependable financial resources. The kingdom or the merchants played a very important role during the Trans-Saharan trade period. And also they were instrumental when the transatlantic trade was established. They were very important, instrumental towards the successful slave trading business. Most of the success recorded by the Nupe can be credited to their business relationship with the Oyo Empire. Let us look at another factor. The empire was situated in fertile ground, which was a very vital point that aided the establishment of the empire. So this helps the people to engage themselves in agricultural practices. The fertility of the soil and the security of the place encouraged successful agricultural practices. Oyo Empire at its peak had been noted to be large and prosperous due to successful relationship with the Europeans during the transatlantic trade period. And this was very vital in the success of Oyo Empire. Now let us have a little look at the political structure. The political structure. Now, as the center of the political unit was the Alaafin, who was the head. The Alaafin was assisted in the administration of the capital by the Oyo Mercy, the Council of State, which was made up of 7 members. The 7 members were respectful leaders of the 7 wards of the city. The members of the Oyo Mercy were also regarded as kingmakers. The council was led by a leader called the Bashoru. The Bashoru played a role can be referred to as the present-day prime minister. Well, and because of the king-making capacity of the Oyo Mercy, most Bashoru became very influential. Some of them were said to have even removed some Alafin and installed stooges, and also took over some control in the empire. Well, there were issues. One of them was Bashoru Gaha, which was said to have deposed almost 3 Alafins and brought in stooges. Now, the next thing we have to look at there is the position of the commander-in-chief, which is the Are Onakakamfo. He was not allowed to reside in the capital in order to check his influences. The commander-in-chief of the empire was not allowed to reside in the capital. The Are Onakakamfo was meant to take control of any stubborn vassal state, but was not allowed to stay in the capital. Then there is another position of a prince position given to the Aremo. The Aremo in most cases happen to be the son of an Alafe. Well, in the beginning, in the early stage, when an Alafe dies, the son in most cases used to be the eldest son. In the early stage, and when an Alafe dies, the Aremo is expected to take over. But there were cases of some Aremo killing their fathers, conniving in connivance with their mothers. And this created restructuring in the sense that it was then made as a law that if an Alafe dies, the Aremo is expected to die with him. This, to a certain level, checked the excesses of some, Aremo. Another important political unit was the Ogboni society. The Ogboni society played a very important role in the governance of Oyo Empire. It was a secret society which owed its political importance to the following factors. First, the Oyo Mercy could not carry out important decisions without the support of the Ogboni society. Secondly, the leaders of the society had the right of free access to the Alafe. Thirdly, the voice of the Ogboni was either respected or feared. This was as regard as their traditional religious importance. In this way, the Ogboni society acted as limitation on the powers of the Alafe. So the political structure of Oyo Empire has been looked upon as a monarchical constitution. So there were lots of checks and balances which helped to progress and unite and also strengthen the empire. Now, the organization of the military of Oyo Empire was also very crucial. As I said earlier, the Ariona Campo was not allowed to stay at the capital, but lived in states which were looked upon as troublesome areas, and this helped in the structuring of the army. Now, another important thing there I want to look upon is that trade was very vital. Both the trans-Saharan trade in the north and the transatlantic trade. This made the Oyo Empire very influential and highly respectful. Well, at the time, the empire collapsed. And there are some reasons for the collapse. Let us look at some of these reasons. Some of the factors that led to the collapse of Oyo Empire. One of them was the vastness of the empire. The vastness of the empire made it a bit difficult to effectively control the empire. And this made it a bit difficult for the Alaafin to control. Then there are the issue of misuse of checks and balances. As I earlier said, in some cases, some Bashorun overreacted. For instance, Bashorungaha between 1754 to 1774, he used his power to usurp almost 3 different Alaafin and ended up appointing his relatives Alaafin. Well, this didn't go down well with the development in the empire. The rise, and this one was the rise of powerful neighbors weakened the empire. One of them was, as I earlier said, the Nupe fought series of wars with the Oyo Empire. Although the Oyo Empire got their horses from the Nupe kingdom, but they still fought series of wars. At the time, the Nupe kingdom rose to prominence again, and then they had serious wars with the Oyo Empire, which led to some defeats against Oyo Empire. Dahomey didn't just put their arms and then clap for them for defeating them. They also came back and got their own pound of flesh. Then Bogu and some other political units within that area rose and then were able to take back their territory from Oyo Empire. Oyo Empire's reliance on trade as the main source of revenue affected the empire. The empires that were under Oyo Empire with the issue of them securing their independence affected trade in Oyo Empire. For instance, Nupe blocked the effectiveness of Oyo Empire towards southern trade. The same way for the Eba, the Dahomey, and this reduced trade. Constitutional crisis played also a very important role in the issue of development in the empire. Some Are took private decisions which affected the center, and this didn't go down well with the ruling class. The presence of northern borders and the jihadists affected the empire, and this actually led to the collapse of the empire. Because of internal political structures, some projectors or some people that were interested in leadership in the empire invited jihadists to the empire. This didn't go down well. That was during the jihad of Osman Dan Fodio. The owner Kamford Afonja carved out territory of his own, and this didn't go down well. The apparent heir to the throne, Prince Atiba, escaped and ran down to where the new Oyo Empire was established. So, the actions of the jihadists in the north led to the total collapse of the empire, in the sense that some of the leaders in Oyo Empire had to invite these people with the intention of using them to, for their own benefit. By the end of the day, the jihadists took over the control of Oyo Empire. So, as I earlier said, Oyo Empire happened to be one of the well-organized political units of the Yoruba speaking people. Thank you. for being part of this presentation.